people sleeping, they soon wake. I took the red pill, now I can't escape. I can never go back to not being awake.
What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we're going to cover a ton of stuff, so stick around. We're going to cover, of course, yacht owners using sonic weapons, the government possibly nuking the moon, and so much more. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I took the red pill, now I can't escape. I can never go back to not being awake. For my God.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton to cover, so if you are new here, remember you can always go over to our website and follow along. We make sure that if we show you a picture, a tweet, a video, a document, an article, it's all going to be bibliographed over on our website. Now, when you go over there, it's very easy to navigate. You'll look for today's thumbnail. That time we almost nuked the moon. And then once you click on Moon Fallout, it will bring you to a full bibliography of all of our sources. That way you know exactly where your information is coming from. Now, something to note about this, once you get to a big yellow bar that says web-only content, that is the stuff that has been censored or too hot for TV. That is the stuff that people are getting knocked off for. That is all on the website. Now, over on the right side, those are affiliate boxes. If you do want to support our independent, our independent show here that does not have any backing from any multi-channel network or multi-billion-dollar corporation, you can do it through that. Again, we are supported by you. We cover controversial subjects. Even staying away from the extreme stuff means that we are not suitable for most advertisers. So, again, thank you, everybody that goes over there and supports. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today? Let's try that one more time, Dex. It looks like you were a little bit out.
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
All right, so let's get started. We got tons to cover, and we're going to try to go and roll through this as quickly as possible and then talk about a few things today. It says that the U.S. government report proposed nuking the moon, newly released documents reveal. Now, apparently the report for this, or the request for this, was over 4 years ago by Vice. And it says that the U.S. government's now defunct Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP, spent millions of taxpayer dollars to research bizarre experimental technologies such as invisibility cloaks, anti-gravity devices, traversable wormholes, and a proposal to tunnel through the moon with nuclear explosives, according to dozens of documents obtained by Vice.com. It says the documents, which include nearly 1,600 pages of reports, proposals, contracts, and meeting notes, reveal some of the stranger priorities of the AATIP, a secretive Department of Defense program that was run from 2007 to 2012, but only became known in 2017. So first of all, the AATIP was from, again, 2007 to 2012, and that is actually that's just what is that 5 years that it was going. As we probably know, and as you probably know, there are probably the same kind of program all over the place. They probably have multiple programs just like AATIP that are, of course, secretive. I don't think that they ran a weird, bizarre research kind of program for 5 years and then canceled it. They probably just move it around. And my guess is that they'll only run a program like this for 5 years and then switch it to something else, is to keep everything private and classified. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. It says that this year, AATIP became synonymous with UFOs thanks to several now infamous videos of unidentified aircraft moving in seemingly impossible ways that former director Luis Elizondo leaked to the press after his resignation. But the new document suggests that AATIP was up to more than just investigating reported UFO encounters. The entire cache of 51 documents obtained by Vice via Freedom of Information Act request over 4 years ago. So again, they actually gave access to that. So if you want to go over to some of the crazier stuff there, you can. But the main point is there were some really weird points here, and it kind of makes you question, like, why would they do that, first of all? And some of these weirder requests probably had a reason why they were actually doing them. Dex, do you want to talk about what else they did here?
Well, yeah, Adam. And so, just the fact that you would think about, deep drilling into the moon and using something like a nuke to do something as a test is kind of crazy. There's plenty of other things that were going on around invisibility cloaking and other tests that they were doing, warp drives, dark energy, or manipulating dark energy, traversing wormholes, and lots of other crazy, I guess, projects, you would say, that they were investing in.
Now, as far as some of the other projects here, it makes you wonder if some of the weird theories that are out there actually have some ground to stand on when you start looking at what they were working on, as far as why would they want to burrow a hole through the moon? Why would they want to come up with this kind of stuff? I'm going to go over to the chat and see what you guys are saying about this. Again, with stuff like Project Bluebeam and a lot of the history that has gone on, and a lot of folks think that they are basically planning some sort of fake invasion, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Release a Quacken, thank you. Bling It On Grammy. Let's see here. We've got over in general chat. Let me go over to Restream chat here. And it looks like we have all sorts of great people here. Shannon Crow, they're all nuts. Max says Project Soul Harvester. Is that a real thing? We'll have to look that up. The fake invasion is the last card the elite will play. One Guy, One Life says, burrow through the moon to get to the other side, says Mr. F. CJ Blaze, what's going on? Hey, say thanks to your mods, by the way. They're doing an awesome job keeping it in a positive place. And then says, do you think they really need a $500 hammer? Probably not. Waste of our money. I found Waldo. Okay, so about $500 hammers and $20,000 toilet seats. A lot of the time, most people think that they do these kind of projects to filter money through to other people, to small companies or big companies that are owned by big names. A lot of folks are talking about what is going on right now, talking about the possibility that essentially a lot of this is to filter money through to different factions and different groups and different people through their companies and the war machines that they make. It says, many of the reports stress the impracticalities of implementing advanced technologies. In the DIRD report on invisibility cloaking, for example, the authors, whose name have been redacted in all the reports, write that, quote, perfect cloaking devices are impossible because they require materials where the speed of light approaches infinity. It says, however, cloaking devices that make objects visible to microwave-based sensors, such as radar and motion detectors, are definitely within reach of the present technology, the report authors wrote. It says other reports do not shy away from bold, sometimes outlandish proposals for realizing advanced technologies. In a report on negative mass propulsion, the authors propose a plan to look at extremely lightweight metals in the center of the moon that may be 100,000 times lighter than steel, but still have the strength of steel. So they're saying that they would mine the moon for this incredibly strong steel that weighs virtually nothing. One thing I wonder is how do they even know that that steel exists in the moon? And why would they, I guess, why would they need to nuke it instead of like drill it? And then I think about all of the different kind of objectives that they have in the next few years, including getting to Mars by 2033, getting to the moon in just the next few years, which I know that there's a big debate and a lot of people are not believing what is actually going on there. But either way, it's coming up to like if you have kids now that are younger, there is a possibility. And again, even if you doubt it, there's probably a thought in your head that we may actually see what is in the sky above, at least from what we can see, right? They're saying that regular people would be going to space soon. Do you think we'll even make it that far, or do they know that we're not going to last that long, so they're just putting it off until a time and a date that basically doesn't exist? The reason I say that is because there's a lot of weird things that are possible in the next 10 years, including a lot of disasters that all kind of line up. I mean, it's straight biblical as far as how many disasters are piling up and that are overdue or stacked up or ready to blast. As far as you have Cascadia on the West Coast that could change the world. You have, of course, Yellowstone. You have CERN and all the crazy stuff that they're doing there, which, again, it actually says that they spent some sort of amount of money on traversable wormholes. How many of you think that they are truly 30, 40, 50, 100, 1,000 years ahead in certain departments, and they are actually altering our reality around us? That is another theory, that they are actually using this technology and making us all think that we have just normal technology like tanks and boom booms, when really they are actually altering everything around us. Some that think of the Mandela effect think that CERN has messed something up and actually screwed up reality as we know it. Others have said that time seems to be going faster. And of course, anything that a majority and just thousands upon thousands of people report, they end up coming up with some sort of article or scientific research that explains it. They do feel like they actually say in a lot of these scientific journals that time seems to be going faster because the day might be getting shorter, or the world's, they explained it with all sorts of things like the world's orbit and how we're moving through space and all this crazy stuff. So basically any crazy theory that's out there, and if it gets enough traction and that it can't be debunked, it will actually be explained away with some phenomenon. Tell me what you think. Let me know. And I'm sorry, guys, I had to literally run. The person that was bringing a little cord from Amazon just kept ringing the bell because I've talked to him every time he's come, and he was like, he knew I was here, so he just kept ringing the doorbell. So I had to like run up and grab the door and say hi to him. He like talks to me every time. Nicest guy ever. He's like in charge of this neighborhood. So I thought that was pretty funny, but I was like, hey, after 7, please don't do that. It says, China plans system to take out asteroids hurtling towards Earth. So, as you guys know, I've talked about this a lot, and Dex, me and you have talked about this on and off camera as far as my theories about what is happening and if they've possibly found something that is going to hit. I know that some that are just kind of religious about the apps and the public information out there, they go by the information that's out. I think that information can be altered and changed. For example, like Apophis, at first they thought it was going to hit in 2029. And if you look at the dates, like as far as what is going on right now, it seems like there is a crazy unnecessary hurry to get to space, to get to the moon, to get to Mars. Unless there's some sort of, money reason to do it, why is it so desperate when just a couple years before that we didn't care at all? Dex, what are your opinions on as far as Xi and his plan to have a system that takes out asteroids?
Well, yeah, and this article is really light, and as a matter of fact, the details coming from Xi in the country are extremely light. They basically have said, though, I had to do some digging to find the rest of it, but they basically said they're going to take a spaceship up and in about 3 years and then they're going to study a specific asteroid, but they didn't say which one. They didn't say how they're going to do it. But then they said after they're done studying it, then they're going to change its trajectory. But they haven't explained exactly how they're doing it. So it seems pretty ambitious on their part, and a lot of lacking of a lot of details, where we've seen, a lot of the other projects are extremely detailed, and some of them, like the one last year, already launched and it's up and it's on its way. So to conduct its tests to see if it can actually alter the path that a potential asteroid would be coming in. So, here we have yet another major country involved. I think everybody's involved in looking up, even though we don't necessarily know what it is they're looking at, and they don't always tell us the details, but they know there's something. And I think a lot of people know there's eventually going to be something. Whether they already know what's coming at what the time is, and, do they need to have the tech done before, 2025, 2024, 2023? What's the year, right? When is that deadline that we don't necessarily know just yet, right?
Well, as far as the deadline, you can kind of guess. There's all these theories and a lot of this information that points to 2023 to 2025, a huge depopulation. Now, somebody said, well, after the nuke is, or after the world is nuked, right? LOL. I get why people have a thought about, all of this stuff is going to happen, and everybody is skeptical. In fact, I think that social media and everything that has happened in the last few years, especially with mainstream, people are skeptical about everything. Even if nukes were just hypothetically saying, if nukes were just totally fake and the, say hypothetically the government came up with nuclear weapons and came up with this thing to totally confuse people and scare people, and they didn't really exist. There is a theory out there that they just don't exist at all, and it's all manipulated media, right? And that the pictures of Japan and all the families that were affected by that's all manipulated. Again, I wouldn't be surprised by anything. But as far as nuking being a possibility, if you believe nukes are real, how would you not believe that it is a possibility that it could happen? What your thought is that it won't happen because who would kill everybody and themselves? Well, take themselves out of it. You have to realize, look at what the very elitist people have done. They have made themselves a safe, comfy zone. In some cases, they've bought $2 billion underground facilities or more. As far as, Gates, that guy owns an underground facility under all of his properties. So no matter where he is at the time, if something goes off, he will go downstairs. And he knows and talks to all the craziest, richest people out there. In fact, a lot more than, say, somebody like Elon Musk, who rubs some people the wrong way. Gates has been involved in this seedy kind of underground of the power structure for a very long time. If he is making bunkers, then I think it's quite a possibility. As far as somebody who would go, well, what's going to happen first? A nuke, an asteroid, or this or that? I have a strong feeling that asteroid is actually, it could be the base kind of line why some of this is happening. Now, the second baseline would be money, and that could combine. It could be about money, it could be about power, it could be about control, and it could also be about some sort of event that is heading our way. And it's hard to believe that because as we've learned, humans have been around for thousands and thousands of years. But it's also really quite, crazy to think about that we've only had computers for my lifetime. We've only had TVs for my parents' lifetime. We've only had planes for, the last couple generations, I guess, since the 1900s. We've only had the capability to fly across a country. We have only had electricity in the last 200 years. We have invented all of this crazy stuff. So out of the entire time that man has been alive, just in the last 200 years, a tiny speck is when all of this stuff has gone down. And now it has just moved forward and forward and forward. And I think people have a hard time believing that they may happen to be unlucky enough or lucky enough to live in actual end times. I think it's partly to do with the fear of death and the fear of all this stuff that people want to sink it in their brain, and it's actually, soaked in that they won't die because of something like that. In fact, most people don't want to think about dying at all. How many people do you know that won't do a will because they don't want to think about it? How many people, won't do all sorts of stuff because they're afraid of dying? But honestly, once you get past that fear of dying, it starts getting more realistic by the day as far as how evil people are. They don't care about you. They don't care about us. They don't care about anybody besides themselves. Have you ever met even like a somewhat rich person? Now, I'm not saying they're all bad, but when you get up to a certain point, I think that it's hard for them, even if they are a good person on the inside, they think differently. They don't think like everybody else. Imagine just being able to spend money on whatever you can spend money on and never have to worry about it. That's everyone's dream that is not at that point. But again, the people that are, they think about different things. And they think about how much better they are than all of us. If you've never dealt with a truly rich person, like just up there, they honestly think that we are scum. The reason we're not rich is because we're lazy and we don't work hard enough, or, we're just a different class of people. So as far as nukes and everything else that could possibly happen, these are arguments between the richest of people, and really it comes down to power and control. They would nuke half the planet if they knew they could control even a third of it. If somebody could control a third of it and, get rid of the rest of us, I bet you there's somebody out there that would. There's a lot of evil people just in your friends' circle. I bet you know people that you could see being evil. And now think about all the thousands and thousands of people that run the world, and then the small families that run them all. Think about how evil some of those people are. They don't care about us. That's the thing. But they do care about themselves. That's why when it comes to all these countries coming up with these systems, why? Why are they all coming up with these systems to try to divert asteroids and to divert meteors? It's crazy. Anyways, so they have a new system, and as we've covered plenty of these weird missions. And then it says private AX-1 astronauts return to Earth, ending historic space mission. It says the first ever all-private astronaut mission seems to be to the International Space Station is in the books. A SpaceX Dragon capsule carrying the 4 crew members of the AX mission splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida today, April 25th at 1:06 p.m., bringing the groundbreaking 17-day flight to a close. On behalf of the entire SpaceX team, welcome back to planet Earth, a SpaceX mission communicator told the AX-1 crew just after splashdown. So understand that these private people, after the actual astronauts left the ISS, these are private people. They're not astronauts. They are people that literally paid a crazy, absurd amount of money, millions of dollars. I don't know how much it was exactly. But they didn't have to have any prerequisites. They didn't have to go to college for 12 years and end up at NASA or MIT or Jet Propulsion Lab or anything. They just paid for a ticket to the ISS. That's what they're telling us. Whether you believe it or not, this is what they're telling us. And again, this is what's going in the history books. This is the first private flight to the ISS in space. So at this point, this has now started. And where is it going to go from here? We don't know. But again, they're talking about as early as 2025, there will be floating hotel in the sky, in the space or lower atmosphere, or whatever you want to call it. They will have these flying hotels, pods, balloons going up to 80,000 feet with people floating around Earth. That's what they're saying. So if you were to live another 10 years and it still hasn't happened, how would they explain all these different companies that are saying that they're going to do this? How would they explain it if they weren't able to get you up there? Or in your thought, does that mean that the planet will end before that so they can not prove it to everybody? Elon is planning on, getting everybody, 1 million people to Mars by a certain amount of time. And the main thing that he says his whole company was started for is to make humans interplanetary. All right. And then let's see here. Mr. F, what's going on? Crazy Eyes Yoshi. I missed that one. They got tech that would blow our minds, says John K. I believe they do too. I don't think everybody believes that there isn't out there. But again, what I'm asking you is, what do you think they will say at that point when it's, when all these projects fall through? I guess what are the real plans? Why are they doing it? Is it just a money stunt? Speaking of stunts, air stunt goes badly wrong as Red Bull pilots try to swap planes at 12,000 feet up. It says that footage shows the moment a Red Bull plane plunged to the ground after a stunt went wrong. Daredevil pilots and cousins Luke Akins and Andy Farrington tried to complete a plane swap near Elroy, Arizona on Sunday. Turns out it didn't end too well. It says that footage shows that the moment that the two Cessna 182 planes nosedive before the pilots jump out, they were about 12,000 feet up in the air when they jumped out, but one of the aircraft is seen spiraling out of control, and it says that in a plane swap, the Daredevils put their planes into nosedives, and it says Aiken successfully skydived into the other plane, while Farrington missed. An onlooker said, "Oh, that plane's not good." Neither pilot was injured, but the condition of the plane remains unknown. So this is an absolutely nuts stunt. I am absolutely, I'm very not surprised that one of these guys failed. What's even more amazing is that one of them actually did it. He skydived out of another plane and landed in the other one. I don't know if these ones had propellers, but this is definitely one of the trippiest stunts I've ever heard of. Release the Quacken, thank you for your support. I appreciate everybody that has popped in here. DFW Jackie, it's the way. And so I noticed somebody said that Jacob had a premiere that was going earlier. Make sure to go check out Jacob Israel's premiere. I'm sure he's got a great video that was planned for you guys. And then Zippy Moons, I had something quirky to say, but I lost it. Oh well. Prayers to all of the fam going through hard times. Hey, Zippy, I'm very, very grateful for you and for everybody else that keeps coming by and keeps showing up at every show. Thank you so much. MC Dirty Work, we've got Keith Shar in the house. Warp Drive, Arcs, Asteroid Mitigation, Mars, and Dumbs. Yeah, a lot of these things, it's like, why do people think they're doing all this stuff? It's very weird. Grand Illusion, thank you. Again, if you've never heard of the Grand Illusion Theater, you should look it up. Pretty cool place in Seattle. And then Angry Mars, thank you. The Saxon, Skyhouse, everybody that popped into D-Live. And then over on YouTube, I appreciate Survival Living. Thank you so much for your support. And then K-Rec, Simply Pony, Diane Moses, and others that popped in last time. Zippy Moons, again, thank you. Marky Sparky, it's been a while. Nice to see you. And thank you for the super sticker, K-Rec. I appreciate it. Dr. Casey says, I'm so excited I can actually join the conversation. And then, again, Survival, thank you. And really appreciate you popping by. And hopefully everybody has checked out Survival Living over there. All right, and then Dex, do you have anything to say about the flight? I know that we did attach the video to the website, correct?
Yeah, the content is in the article, but yeah, so the thing that was interesting to me is that the FAA approved this. Actually, they didn't approve it to begin with, and then I guess they had to get approval again. But now, of course, they're going to investigate the crash because that's what they do, right? But it also reminds me of a famous another YouTuber who apparently crashed his plane, and the FAA is going after him and suing, or not suing, but investigating him as to whether or not he intentionally crashed his plane, because he went up in a small plane like this and then panicked and said he had trouble and jumped out with a parachute and then filmed the whole thing from beginning to end. It was just too suspicious, right? So these kind of things, while are interesting and amazing when you see people perform stunts like walking on wings or doing stuff like that on a plane, or in this case skydiving out of one plane and into another, but then there's also risk that happens whether or not these planes make it down. Now, this particular plane in this stunt had a parachute on it, so we don't know. They haven't said what happened to the plane, but it did have its own chute that was going to go off at a certain altitude if there was a problem. So apparently the plane wouldn't have necessarily hit the ground as hard as a normal crash would have.
Well, I know what you're talking about. If you guys haven't looked down this rabbit hole, there's tons of videos, and what the guy did is from what people have collected so far, and this wasn't all available at the time, but it looks like he bought kind of a more of a scrapper plane, and he fixed it up good enough to just fly, got it up in the air, and he put cameras, GoPros, all over the plane. So on both wings, on the tail, underneath, on the wheel, in the front, in the cab, everywhere. And that was his literal downfall, because what he did is he flew over a place, jumped out, and said that the thing had problems and that he couldn't fly it. Which again, there's a process and a procedure you do if your plane stops. Second, you just wouldn't jump out. In fact, you would try to glide it. Planes will glide even if the engine stops. Glide it to somewhere safe. But he just basically jumped out. And through all of these GoPro cameras, they got video, and what they can see is clearly a fire extinguisher on each leg. So he had pre-taped 2 fire extinguishers to each leg, and his thought was it was going to be out of the movies. His plane was going to crash into the side of the mountain. It was going to blow up and explode, and then he was going to that was going to cover a lot of the evidence, and he was going to go and put it out before anybody got there, and then he could post the video, everything else. Well, it didn't go on fire. It wasn't like a movie. And he landed, he got to the crash, and I guess he took some stuff from it. But basically, all of the pilots community, went frame by frame and totally busted the guy. So now, for whatever views he got, like 1 million views, which isn't much. I mean, it's not worth tiny Cessna. It's not worth anything, really, compared to what he's going to spend just on his legal bills. It wasn't worth it. But if you haven't gone down and seen that video, it is quite fascinating. More so, all of the pilots that caught him. You can't do a stunt like that and get away with it, especially with the internet now the way it is. Dex?
He lost his, the FAA just took his license. So that's what was the announcement I saw a couple days ago or over the weekend. So yeah, he lost his license over it. That's the first step. I don't know what else is going to happen.
So that means they basically found him guilty. They kind of confirmed that the guy did it on purpose. Even if not, he didn't follow so many steps that it was absolutely the dumbest thing ever. Okay, and then if you have not gotten yourself some long-term survival food, we have a high recommendation for you. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. This is through My Patriot Supply. You can get yourself MRE's sealed food that can last and be stored for years and years. Again, this is, MREs that are sealed and then in buckets that can be, of course, stored away and hidden or whatever you want to do with them. You can even use them as regular food. Again, this is really, really tasty food, and they have it broken down into supplies like, say, a 1-month supply, a 3-month supply, and so on. So you can actually get a pre-packaged amount that you can basically plan for however long you want to plan for. If you want to have 6 months of food, you can get 2-3-month supplies, and then you'll be set. Again, right now there's $150 off on the 3-month supply. If you want to go get that through us, not only will you get that discount, but you will be helping our channel as well. That way you help an independent channel like ours, and you get yourself something out of it, and you're getting a discount. But they have other stuff. They have iodine tablets if you are worried about nukes. Again, not many people are, and many people think it's taboo and think it will never happen. But again, if it does, it's kind of a really easy thing to get and then, have that base covered. Most of all, though, they have an Alexa Pure system over there. That is a gravity-fed water filtration system. The Alexa Pure Pro is a system that can basically filter a ton of water very fast. And if you don't trust what's in your water right now, then I highly recommend it. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Remember that if our grid does go down, that water tap will not work anymore. All right, and then that's, again, marfooglenews.com/prep. Thank you for everybody that goes through that link. I appreciate you. Dex appreciates you. We all appreciate you. Thank you. And then Paris police shoot 2 as car rushes them amid Macron protests. And they, of course, use the word the bloodbath happened on the ancient Pont Neuf in the center of the city soon after Emmanuel's re-election as president on Sunday night. It says police in Paris have shot 2, perished, and severely wounded a 3rd after a car failed to stop on the oldest bridge in the French capital. The bath happened on the ancient Pont Neuf in the center of the city soon after the thing happened, and it said a car came rushing towards police soon after midnight and refused to stop, said an investigating source. One of those police officers opened fire, taking the lives of 2 and wounding a 3rd. In the early hours of Monday morning, an examining magistrate attended the scene, which was closed to traffic. So something was going on here. I wonder why. I mean, it was a car packed full of people. Was this an attempted attack of some sort, or was this something else? Was this teenagers that didn't even know what was going on that were speeding through the area? Again, I think that there's going to be more information that comes out as it goes. Dex?
Well, yeah, and Adam, this is just one incident of many that were going on, and this was a big event in the sense that what Macron did was a big event with his competitor, and it's pretty much divided in the country. So there's an uproar of people that were upset with the outcome of the event, where everybody puts a ticket in the box, so to speak, right? So that has caused just a lot of commotion with the public, and we've saw numerous events. This was the biggest as far as causing loss of life, which was unfortunate, and the involvement with the popo there. But plenty of other protests that were going on around the city. And I guess we'll have to watch and see if this escalates. They've been known to have numerous, reactions when it comes to things like this. So we'll have to see what holds in France.
What do you guys think is happening? Let me know in the comments down below, or let me know in the chats. We've got Southern Boy Prepper here. Hey, what's going on? Ilea, thank you for modding. RJ Harris, it's been nice to see you here lately. And then LCJC, again, we've got everybody here killing it and grilling it. Paul Stone. Common Sense. Yes, all praise due. And then the Bitter Critter says, nothing sketchy with that election. Yeah. Speaking of that, right? So much information is coming out that is over on the web only. You have to get over there. The whole world is going to crap. So I hope people are prepared for this, and I hope people understand what is actually going on with everything. So most people understand that. So it is imperative that you go over to that website. Laguna Berry, thank you. The Lifeboat, a divided country. No. Like in France. No. Tribulation starts soon. Get saved, says Garrett Strong. Poco Loco, this is the song that never ends. It goes on and on, my friends. Some people started singing and not know it's the song that never ends. Yes. It is absolutely crazy. And by the way, if it is buffering over there, make sure to exit out and go back in. Lots of crazy stuff. Make sure to go pop over to DLive next Friday, or this Friday now, and join us for a mature episode of Marfoogle News. All right, and then Twitter accepts Musk's $44 billion deal. We've talked about this over the week because of how important this is. If you don't realize, part of that fallacy that happened a few years ago, that was done with the help of a lot of Twitter. And what would you call it? The suppression that happened on certain stories during that time, even with everything that we now know they did, it still wouldn't have been enough to stop the T-Man from beating what's-his-face if that story was not suppressed. And that's what the opinion of many is now, that they found out all of this crazy stuff about what Twitter, what Facebook, what all of these other things have done. And you don't have to believe me. Go do your own research on that. There is documentation now. They have now found, again, now there's admitted proof that all these things were going on, but they say, oh, well, it wasn't enough to sway it. In some cases, it was like 2,000 short of swaying a certain state, right? So really crazy stuff going on, and it's like that's just one thing that is now proven. Make sure to go over to the website to see what I'm talking about. Under the terms of the agreement, Twitter stockholders will receive $54.20. He literally did his 420 in there. For each share of Twitter common stock that they own upon closing of the proposed transaction. So all of the arguing that we've talked about this last week and the last 2 weeks, that is over, and they accepted it. They also did this weird lockdown of all of the code. I'm going to have Dex explain that in a second, but I thought it was weird. Do you think that they meant to actually wait? Do you think that they just tried to put this off long enough so they could hide things that may have gone on in the last couple of years? Let me know in the comments or in the chat. Dex, go ahead. What?
Yeah, and Adam, while I'm doing that, Jack just responded publicly, so it's kind of a big deal. And go ahead and pull it up. It's in Screener. You can see what Dorsey had to say. Make sure you expand the thread because there's about 4 or 5 tweets. But yeah, what they did, one of the things, think about it like if you were to buy a house, and many people have been through that process or know someone that's been through the process. You go and you create a contract. You then agree on the price. You create the contract. You both sign it. Now we're going to buy it. So then we have to go to closing. So it can take, a couple weeks or even a month or two to get to closing, depending on what's happening. That's when you sit down and you sign all the paperwork and you actually make the transaction go through. So that's what's happened today. They've reached the agreement for all practical purposes. He's bought Twitter. Of course, it has to actually close, and they have to go through that process. So that gap in time between now and when it actually becomes his owned property by him paying for it, there's protections that need to be put in place. You sort of don't want the anybody that may be an adversary in there to run amok and launch features or delete features or bring services down or destroy code. So they went through and they basically locked everything down. They basically said, okay, we're frozen at this point. We operate the way we operate. The system is going to work, but we're not launching any new product. We've locked down all the code. The source code is what they call it, the code that they write that builds the platforms. They've locked all that down so that no changes can be made up until the point in which he takes over, and then he has his own management team or whoever start going forward.
Okay,
so that's the process we're in now. Right. And then Jack just came out with this.
I'm starting to think that maybe this is like out of a movie where somebody made this just absolute monster of a company. As we know, we've seen Jack on his court appearances, and he kind of looks like a hippie, and he's kind of like, it looks like off camera he's like, oh, peace and love, man, like let's go meditate. Straight out of the movies on how they make these kind of CEOs of these giant companies, like instead of going to a 2:00 meeting, they're like, well, let's get a badminton court in there and an arcade, and then everybody bring their dogs and we'll meditate instead of doing a meeting. I think it will be good for our souls. It's that kind of CEO that I see him being. And once you read this, you'll start kind of understanding, like, maybe this guy, and I'm saying maybe, but this is a big maybe. Maybe it got out of hand and he couldn't control it anymore. Maybe when he went to Congress and they had to ask him all those questions, he really couldn't answer. And he's like, God, this is really crappy. I bet maybe if he has a soul and if he has a conscience, when everybody was asking him, why can't you do this? Why are they doing that? Why are they getting rid of this stuff? And maybe, just maybe, he has like some sort of conscience and he thought that it was horrible. He tweeted, everything in its right place. Listen to everything in its right place. Basically saying everything is where it should be. I love Twitter. Twitter is the closest thing we have to a global consciousness. It says the idea and service is all that matters to me, and I will do whatever it takes to protect both. Twitter as a company has always been my sole issue and my biggest regret. So basically saying, I love it, but I also hate it, and it says it has been owned by Wall Street and the ad model. Taking it back from Wall Street is the correct first step. So he's saying that it was basically owned by the corporations. It says, in principle, I don't believe anyone should own or run Twitter. It wants to be a public good at a protocol level, not a company. Solving the problem is being a company. However, Elon is a singular solution I trust. I trust his mission to extend the light of consciousness. Dude, he is speaking like he's a little bit out there, but I think, do you think that maybe we just didn't know who Jack was? Okay, so go ahead, Dex.
We just hit the last two, and then I'll jump in.
Elon's goal of creating a platform that is, quote, maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is the right one. This is also Paraga's goal, and why I chose him. Thank you both for getting the company out of an impossible situation. This is the right path. I believe it in all my heart. It says, I am so happy Twitter will continue to serve the public conversation around the world and into the stars.
So the one comment I want to make about Jack, and for all that we watch TV shows like Silicon Valley, or we hear of the craziness that goes on in Silicon Valley, and you look at Jack, with that beard and giving that impression of everything you think of the craziness of Silicon Valley. Yeah, he's that guy. But back up to when he started Twitter, okay? This guy, he's currently 45 years old. He comes from that generation, the generation that basically started a lot of the internet services. Okay. So that period, or the people of that time actually did like freedom. They did like free speech. They did like, creating the internet and creating technology for freedom. Like live free or die was, a Unix thing that everybody talked about. It's also a license plate and et cetera. But there was, there are a lot of people from that era that actually have that that mentality. Now, layer in politics and it all gets askew. But if you just go back to those fundamentals, a lot of the folks from that era, myself included, we were focused on how we were creating things that were about empowering freedom. So it's not crazy for me to see him say these things, even though we've had this lens of him for the last 5 to 10 years of what you see in Silicon Valley. And I'm not saying that he's not that by any means either, but it is a good view in my opinion to see him get back to some of those roots and obviously expose some of the problems he has had to weather
Dex,
through
but
his role.
We don't know if this is all a show or something else. So I know that a lot of people are going to say that this is all kind of some sort of big act and that there is some secret. I know that a lot of people say that, they don't think Elon is a hero. The one reason why I still am very suspicious about Elon is because he is so admired and so looked up to, and people are thinking that he's going to come in and be the savior. What makes this even weirder is that Jack Dorsey is now totally behind him. One thing I could think of it is if it was in real life and there wasn't anything going on behind the scenes, then maybe Jack Dorsey listened to Elon. Maybe Elon was charming, had a smart thing to say about it, said, hey, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, but I do want to get it to this point. Maybe he came up with something they could both agree on, and maybe this is after a meeting they had, and they're like, well, okay, I'm cool with that. And maybe they didn't know who Elon was or something, and now they do. Or somebody said, well, he's not the greatest guy. He's a global, multi-billionaire. He's part of these elite puppets, right? He's just on this side of them. So I don't know, man. I'm going to withhold any kind of judgment on what's going on. But I think that people have a ton of hope because everyone wants to go back to the old Twitter. It's not going to happen. I just listened to, I want to say it was Quite Frankly, where he had the guy from the People's Pundit Daily on there. And he basically had, 200,000 plus followers on Twitter and got wiped out at the same time that everybody else did. Tucker got wiped out, which apparently Tucker just got brought back. Did the Babylon Bee get brought back? Is that right?
They're still there, but they're not tweeting, so I'm assuming they're still suspended.
So, and by the way, the Babylon Bee is the craziest thing because they were a satire and they got kicked off. And then Tucker got kicked off for actually supporting them, I believe. And Tucker is one of the hugest names in news, whether you like him or hate him. He's still a huge anchor, and the fact that a journalist, or they call him a journalist, or media analyst or somebody like that could be kicked off that has that big of an audience, that's pretty crazy. So the fact that he is already back on, or at least his name is back, people have this hope, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. I think that, we think it's going to get good and then it just goes down the crapper. Everything keeps just going and falling right back apart. Not trying to be negative. I'm just saying it's like this is all one big show and the end result isn't changeable. But again, what do you guys think? Go ahead.
Well, and Adam, the timing is also really interesting, right? We've got this big event coming up in November, and then we have it again in 2 years. But, the fact that this is happening right now, in April, which is, we haven't even gotten into the heavy, season for the November event, which will be all through the summer, right? So this changeover happening, and this, platform being potentially changed, as far as the permissions and how things are run. I don't know how fast that'll happen, but the timing is awfully interesting considering the event that's about to take place in November, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just wondering, you got to wonder both sides. If did he during that time in November, Twitter was such a powerful tool. It's suppressing certain stories from, say, the New York Post and other things. That played a huge part in what was going on. Now, by the way, I want to point out Jacob Israel just popped in. By the way, like I said at the beginning of the show, if you guys haven't checked out that premiere, a lot of people popped in from your premiere. So, Jacob, I appreciate that. I don't know if you said something, but thank you so much. Made sure to send people your way. And then it says, Elon, a young global WEC leader. Let's see. I want to read the rest of that for sure. Simply Pony, thank you. Ilea, thank you. Hold on. Elon, a young global WEC leader. You two are awesome together. Reminds me how fired up everyone was when T-Man was elected. And let's see here. Thank you, Jacob, and thank you for your support. You didn't have to do that. Cameron Combs, the thing is, fruit roll-ups should be called fruit fold-ups, and fruit by the foot should have been rightful title of fruit roll-ups. I said what I said. Cameron, you are just an absolute monster. And then Ilea says, we've been requesting a Dex cam for over a year. Let's make it happen. It's not a problem. I requested too, but yeah. It's more of a technical thing. So anyways, Simply Pony, I appreciate it. And thank you. And trust me, we will get a Dex cam eventually. I hope we do. Because it's no fun not being able to see who's talking. All right, and then let's see here. Scott Morrison says, Chinese military base in Solomon Islands would be a red line for Australia and the U.S. Now, we've talked about the Solomon Islands previously because all of these things are going on in the last couple of weeks. And it says that Scott Morrison says that Xi is building a military base on the Solomon Islands that would be a red line for Australia and the U.S., but did not say how Australia would respond if it happened. It says there are concerns about a recently signed security agreement between China and the Solomon Islands and what it could mean for Australia and other Pacific countries, especially if China uses the deal to expand its military presence to the region. This is a shared concern, not just Australia. This is Australia and regional governments, particularly places like Fiji and Papua New Guinea, Mr. Morrison said. Working together with our partners in NZ and the chorus of the United States, I share the same red line that the United States has when it comes to these issues. We won't be having a military naval base in our region on our doorstep. So basically, they don't want G in the Solomon Islands creating their bases, which they're going to do. It's really clear, and of course, that along with the Spratly Islands, which have now been militarized, they have fuel there. A lot of people didn't follow the whole Spratly Islands development from before they were even islands to when they took sand diggers and actually took sand from the bottom of the ocean, piled it up to create an island, and then pounded it down and turned it into airfields, military bases, and refueling naval docks. It's essentially kind of a forward operating base now, or multiple of them. And they have moved tons of fuel there. Some say they have moved enough fuel to actually refuel an entire conflict with the U.S. I don't know if that is true, but again, that is what sources are saying on Twitter. So, again, who knows if that's true or not. It says he instead said that the Solomon Islands Prime Minister Menace Sugvar assured him that it would not happen, so it clearly shares our red line. Okay. And it says the government has faced sustained criticism from the opposition about the deal, with Labor arguing the coalition should have done more to prevent it, including sending Foreign Minister Maurice Payne to the Solomon Islands when concerns about the pact first arose last year. Again, Solomon Islands, if they end up militarizing and get all of their bases in there and create a base there, It would be I guess it would change the balance of power. And then Peter Dutton says Australia should be prepared for war. It says Peter Dutton has dialed up his rhetoric about the threat of and Russia, warning Australia should be prepared for conflict. The defense minister's comments echo from this Scott Morrison, who used the Dawn service to warn a new arc of autocracy from Beijing to Moscow. It says the prime minister said that he had drawn a red line and would not hesitate to join allies to keep off of Australia's doorstep following a controversial security pact between Beijing and the Solomon Islands. Speaking with Nine, Mr. Dutton issued a frank assessment of the situation, encouraging Australians to accept the reality of our time. We shouldn't take for granted the sacrifice that was made by the Anzacs, he said. We have to be realistic that people like Hitler and others aren't just a figment of our imagination, and they're consigned to history. It says we have in President Putin at the moment somebody who is willing to women and children. That's happening in the year 2022. He warned that Xi is on a very deliberate course, and the only way to preserve peace is to prepare for war and be strong as a country. People okay, history is repeating itself, and now the rhetoric is matching. It says we're in a period very similar to the 1930s now, and I think that there are a lot of people in the 1930s who wish they had spoken up much earlier into the decade. Presented with Mr. Dutton's comments at a short press conference in Darwin, Labor Deputy Richard Marles claimed the defense minister was all words, no action. It says we are at a moment in our history where our strategic circumstances are as complex as many points since the end of the second WW. It says hitting out at the government's record, Mr. Marles pointed to the dumping of a French submarine contract in favor of the UK and US designed nuclear power vessels, which are not expected to arrive until 2040. It says we certainly need to prepare, but we have not seen the preparation under this government. This government, which repeatedly fails, he added. So Dex, the defense minister, and others are now saying Australia is saying that they are going to be in a conflict with Xi, and now they're comparing Vlad to Adolf.
Right. And so Scott Morrison, the prime minister, basically for all intents and purposes, the president, right, said there's a red line. The defense minister says, get ready for conflict. That's the takeaway of these two messages. So when you think of that, one of the things that comes to my mind when we look at what's happened in Europe or what continues to happen in Europe, and we'll talk a little bit later about how the rhetoric there is even still continuing to ramp up. We've always looked at Taiwan as the next location, but it sounds like there could actually be, another action that could happen down here with the Solomon Islands, specifically with Australia, that could actually start an event between Xi's country and the allies of America and Australia.
Well, so I know that a lot of folks just think that this is all one big show. I think that people don't realize that this very well could be a show that we're all a part of, and that, they're going to use real props, right? It is more than just writing on the wall. It is every country is going to feed their military industrial complex. We are going to be in another world conflict. Remember, this won't be an end of the world. This will be a world conflict. Most of the lower down people will be involved. But yet the people in the very top tiers, they will not. They will be sitting in their mansions, or at the very worst case scenario, they'll move to their other mansions. And they will sacrifice. Another thing that I think is odd is the amount of some of these elites that are moving and fire sailing a lot of their property and moving elsewhere. And you see a lot of them going to NZ. You see a lot of them going to Australia. You see a lot of them going to even Greenland, or I want to say Iceland is green, Greenland is ice, right? I want to say Iceland. So you see all these weird places that these very, very rich are buying and leaving to and setting up shop, and even buying so much land that they can get full citizenship there, or at least dual citizenship, which we've talked about before. In most countries, if you buy enough land, there's a special deal where you basically spend enough money with that country, you can get citizenship, and a lot are doing so. When you add in all of the mass exodus of CEOs between 2019 and 2021, where are all of these guys going? Why are they all leaving their jobs and spending time with their families? It makes me wonder. Preppermint says, Bill in Cali. Oh, hold on. I can't. It doesn't show me the rest. Bill in Cali, abort 28 days after birth. Must stop it. Preppermint. That's just crazy to me. That shouldn't even be something that's a reality. I don't know how that's a human. What is real and what is fakes? Thanks, Marv. Pam Ben. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, I appreciate you, Pam, and I hope you are doing okay. All right, before we move on, a super yacht captain deployed sonic weapons and pain rays to fend off pirates. Before we talk about that, I do want to remind you, if you do not have protection against an EMP, you can do so by going to marfooglenews.com/EMP. EMP Shield is the same company that has been contracted with agencies like DOD, DHS. This is a Keystone military-tested device that is a surge protector unlike no other. This can actually ground the signal from all three phases of an EMP, even multiple EMPs, and a Carrington level event, CME or plus, solar flare up to 228,000 amps. It can ground the signal in a picosecond before it can fry your device. To put that in perspective, a picosecond is 500 trillionths of a second. That's not a fraction of a second. 500 trillionths of a second. And that can be done so by going to marfooglenews.com/EMP. There are different devices for different things. They have made one for the car. That is their best-selling one because that also can be put in by anyone, basically plugging in 2 wires to your battery and something to your ground in about 10 minutes. That, again, will protect your car and keep it running. Anything with a motor that you want to keep going after an EMP, or anything that's electrical that you want to keep working, you would put this on or wire it in. They make one for your house, your home, again, your solar system, your solar generators, your gas-powered generators, your RV, your boats, of course, your motorcycles, and your cars. So you'll get $50 off if you go over through our link, and that's $50 off per device. So if you have 4 cars that all need it, you can go over and get it through this. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Thank you, everybody that has popped over already, and anybody that has an experience with the EMP Shield will tell you that these guys are awesome. It's 100% American made and a veteran-owned business. All right, and then Dex. We've talked a lot about the sonic weapons, and I have heard of like different countries like Africa. There are certain places where you can get, say, a Mercedes-Benz with a flamethrower. No joke. In certain places, they worry about people carjacking you, this kind of stuff. There are actual companies that can apply different things. For instance, one of the defense mechanisms of certain cars in Africa is they have these like flame-throwing devices along the sides. They also have electrified handles. So if a crook or basically land pirates go up and in Somalia or some place where you would be where somebody would basically come and jack your car, they have electrified handles, flamethrowers out the side. They even have little like James Bond dart things that shoot out. That's all real because in some parts of the world, if you drive a car, you're going to get it stolen, right? Well, now that has moved into the super yacht category. Apparently, this super yacht captain deployed sonic weapons and pain rays to fend off pirates armed with Kalashnikovs, worker says. It says that the super yacht captain used the sonic weapons and pain rays to fend off armed pirates in the Arabian Sea, according to an industry insider. It says Kalashnikov wielding pirates were speeding towards the 230-foot yacht on inflatable boats. The anonymous worker, who spent 20 years in the super yacht business, wrote in the Times of London. It says the captain was said to have deployed an onboard weapon that directed ear-splitting, high-volume acoustics at the pirates. He was also said to have used pain rays, narrow beams of electromagnetic energy that triggers a burning sensation on the skin. The worker wrote in the Times that the threat of the pirate attacks is all too real. In some areas, such as along the coast of Africa, in the Gulf of Aden, it's even expected. Any protective technology worth having will find its way aboard a yacht. So, just a few years ago, something like this would have been considered a theory, right? Now, the rich have it on their super yachts. These are electromagnetic weapons that apparently, if you're rich enough, you can get your hands on anything. So that's pretty nuts, and it seems like it's being kept pretty secret if this guy is anonymously talking about it. But I guess one of the things I also see is that the rich have access to almost anything. I guarantee you somebody who's rich enough can get their hands on a rocket and a rocket launcher if they need to, right? So this is pretty insane as far as now they are selling sonic weapons to the rich. Think about when everything hits the fan, what kind of defenses they have on their super mansions, right? They probably have electromagnetic, weapons just like the military. And then fear of lockdown sparks panic buying in Beijing following a outbreak. So many people are looking at this and going, okay, there's something else going on here. They locked down all of Shanghai, 25 million people, more than 2.5 times New York City, and all of the ports. We talked about this on the last show. In fact, if you go to that last show, you'll see in the thumbnail, it's all of the cargo that is stuck out in the water. Nothing is moving. We have not seen the true shortage yet. In fact, just now we are going to start seeing it. Because of everything that is just dead stopped. They're shipping nothing out of the second largest port, or I want to say Shanghai might be the first largest. I know there's Shangzhou, or the other main port. Shanghai might even be the largest port in China. It's either the first or the second. And nothing is moving out of it. It says authorities in Chaoyang, home to 3.45 million people, late on Sunday, ordered residents and those who work there to be tested 3 times this week, as Beijing warned that the virus had stealthily spread in the city for about a week before being detected. It says, quote, "I'm preparing for the worst," said a graduate student in the nearby Hayden district, surnamed Zhang, who placed online orders for dozens of snacks and 10 pounds of apples. Shoppers in the city's crowded stores and online platforms to stock up on leafy vegetables, fresh meat, instant noodles, and rolls of toilet paper. In Shanghai, where most of its 25 million residents have been locked down for weeks, the main food supply bottleneck has been the lack of enough couriers to make deliveries to homes, fueling anger among residents. In Beijing, supermarket chains, including Carrefour and Walmart, said that they had more than doubled inventories, while Meituan's grocery-focused e-commerce platform increased stocks and the number of staffers for sorting and delivery, and to the state-backed Beijing Daily. It says supermarket chains could ensure that the goods were being replenished in time, said a Beijing official at the news conference late in the day, adding to the city's reserves of refined grains and oil could meet the consumption needs of residents for 30 days. The operating hours of stores would also be extended. Since Friday, Beijing has reported 70 locally transmitted cases in 8 of its 16 districts, with Chaoyang accounting for 46 of the total. So why does all this matter? Most people think that it's not exactly what they say it is, that they are getting ready for something else. If you remember, just 3 months ago or 4 months ago, they said, they told their people, their entire country, they said, you need to stock up because there may be more outbreaks, right? And they said that you should get food and water and all that, and you should have months worth. The people freaked out. They all panic bought. They all went to the store. They all bought tons and tons of stuff. And again, right before, now we are fast forwarding. Shanghai is now locked down. They have a zero policy, so they don't want any of these cases. One thing that my wife said, which was, again, something that I was thinking about as well, which is the fact that they've been caught doing very specific research on V's that basically can target people by what color they are. They can target different demographics. And they can stop almost anything. If they wanted to, they could make something that a dart goes in you, and then all of a sudden you can't use your tongue and talk. Or you can't walk. All of a sudden you can't use your legs. Or you can't use your, and this is just an example, you wouldn't be able to move your pinky. Because they can shut off certain parts of your brain with new things. So one thought she said is, what if they want it down to zero because the rest of the world, if everybody else has it and they have zero, if they did flip a switch, and by the way, the research that goes into what they can do now basically says that they could flip a switch and then they would have a cure for it. It would be like a password. And only they could turn off the symptoms or the bad stuff from whatever they could make. So it's just a thought. What if they wanted zero of it, and then once they get down to true zero, they flip a switch on everybody else? I thought that was an interesting thought. Or they are preparing for something else, like a conflict with the U.S. Dex, what do you think about this as far as everything that's going on over there?
Well, yeah. So just to be clear, Chaoyang is a smaller section of Beijing. When you think of Beijing as the entire city, it's like almost 21 million. So actually, it's 21.5 million if I remember, which is not as big as Shanghai, but close. It's like right there. So this is yet another massive city. And if they go down in the same path that they did with all of Shanghai, that's kind of telling, because it's like a lot is happening for, a little bit of activity. Now, not to say that that's just their policy and that's what they do, but man, there's a lot of ways you can look at this and think, are they doing something different? Are they fearing something that we don't know? Are they flipping their manufacturing or switching over to, wartime economy or something like that under the cover of this, right? So there's a lot of questions to be asked here.
Also, something they did, flight radar. Just in the same time period, in the last couple months, they got rid of all the devices that help flight radar do its job. They do not want any of their people monitoring what is going on. They consider it a security breach, a national security issue. They do not want anybody monitoring the planes that are flying above. Also, since CV started, only 2% of all flights have been going, and I believe that that's even less now. So out of China, imagine before CV, 100% flights. After CV, even upwards of just a couple months ago, they were at 2% of all flights. That's a crazy thing to think about. So if there was 10 million flights going out, every day, or say, I don't know what a realistic number would be, but 100,000, 2% would be 2,000 planes compared to that whole. So barely anything is up in the air, and what is, they don't want you tracking it. They're telling their people to stock up, and then at the same time, Taiwan is handing out pamphlets saying, get ready for conflict. You have Australia saying, get ready for conflict. You have Europe saying, get ready for conflict. You have Vlad, them supposedly actually in one. Remember that all of these military industrial complexes, there are generals that want conflict, that they want to go to conflict. That's their mindset. That's their only thing that they want to happen. So there are people that want war. It's not being a fearmonger. It's giving you the truth about the people that are warmongers. There are a lot of people on this earth that believe there should be less of us on this earth. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And then huge fire at fuel storage on Russia's biggest oil pipeline near UK border. Every time something like this happens, we look and we see if, is this going to be taken as an attack on them, as far as, are they going to respond? It says a major fire broke out at a fuel storage tanks next to Russia's most important oil pipeline, the Ministry of Emergency Situations said in the small hours of Monday morning. The fire, visible from miles away, according to unverified social media footage, also hit diesel storage tanks in Bryansk, western Russia. It says the new news agency Interfax reported an unnamed source as saying the BBC's Steve Rosenberg said via Twitter that local television in Bryansk also had reported diesel tanks on fire, adding that they were a military facility. So at this point, Dex, there is, are they basically saying that this was Ukraine as far as who this was, right?
Well, I don't think that the bear country is going to want to admit that happened. And I haven't necessarily heard that UKR is taking credit for it. But it's certainly, gosh, it's really hard to just think, oh, it's a coincidental, event that happened when it's the main pipeline. It feeds into Germany and the rest of Europe. And it is, right there. It's like something that could easily be a target. I mean, it's not right across the border, but it's not like on the other end of the country. It's still in that region. So, there's going to be some questions here. And I'm sure we know that the bear country is not going to want to admit that they came all the way across and took that out.
So my prediction on it, and because they said earlier this month that UKR helicopters attacked a fuel depot in Belgorod, I believe in the next 2 days even that they will come out and say that this is some sort of event. And, of course, Russia's view of it will be different. So we'll see. Who knows? And remember, don't ask questions about anything and everything, including the stuff we covered here. Always question everything. Go with your gut, common sense. And then, of course, Vlad seen loading nuclear-capable missile onto submarines heading to UKR. So, again, obviously, it would be stupid not to follow this stuff if you are a prepper. If you're here, by the way, we are all preppers here. So we look at everything from a prepper standpoint. We want to look at stuff before it happens and try to see the patterns before it happens and not after. So this kind of stuff is not for everybody. It's scary for some people. And like my friend Nick, when he gets stressed out and it starts freaking him out, he stops watching. He stops watching for a couple days. It says, lethal caliber strategic missiles have been spotted being put onto a Valiki Novgorod diesel-electric submarine, which is thought to be heading to UKR to potentially be used in the invasion. It says it was in a dock in Sevastopol, according to the UKR Now Telegram channel. It says that Russian caliber type cruise missiles were loaded onto the Valkyrie, and it said that the loading several days ago came ahead of a mission by the submarine in the Black Sea. So, again, they eventually may have, we are being warned. I would say look at the telegraphing that they are doing in media by, of course, Volodymyr Zelensky and everybody else that's talking about this. They are telegraphing and kind of putting it into people's heads that Vlad is going to use strategic missiles. This is, of course, the information where it's coming from. It very well could be that they're just saying that and then it ends up happening, right? We'll see. Dex, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, just the rhetoric around tactical has ramped up dramatically in the last couple of weeks, more so in the past week. And, stories like this just keep, drawing, I mean, it was just a few days ago we were talking about the reporters showing, a hypersonic taking out New York City, and they were just giggling and laughing on TV about it, right? And carrying on. And then there's of course all of the rumor mill going on about, all sorts of potential setups happening right now around, again, tactical and nukes and whether or not they'll be used and who would actually be the one doing it. and who will be, pointing the finger, so to speak. So, with this much, messaging coming out and this much chatter about the types of event that could happen, it's almost, worrisome. I think we should pay attention, because it's not that it's a definite prescription, but it certainly should open your eyes to pay attention to what may or may not happen over there. Because if that does happen, it's going to change the game significantly across the board. Everyone.
Yeah, and I bet you there's going to be a lot of people that won't believe any of it happening. Well, by the way, I was talking to Dex the other day about this video that I found on Shorts, right? It's on YouTube, and I don't think we can show it because it's Arma 3. Let me just grab a general. Has anybody heard of Arma 3? ARMA 3. Just yes or no. Have you seen Arma 3, and have you seen the graphics in it? Have you seen what it is and how real it looks? It is absolutely mind-blowing. What it was is it was developed for military simulations. Now, with matched up with a computer that can run it, Arma 3 is the military simulation. Well, they actually made a version that regular people could play. It goes into military maps. It goes into simulations, and when people play it, they actually play it live. And you have to have like the best. I'm pretty sure you have to have the best gaming computer out there. Where just the processor in your computer is the price of most of ours, right? But when you do, these guys play in this game, and a lot of them, I guess, are ex-military, because they use the same kind of commands and everything else that they would in real military. Because this simulation is so close to reality as far as everything else, and that's how they used it for training soldiers, right? They give them a scenario, they say, how are you going to do this, everything else. The video from it and the shading and the lights, there's videos right now that people think are real, that they are taking the hypothetical Vlad versus UKR, and they'll show a video of two helicopters flying along, shooting missiles, and then an anti-air defense taking down the helicopter. It looks so real that the majority of people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this happened. Where's the article to this? This is crazy. People don't realize that it's a video game and that it looks so real. And I'm not kidding you. You know that everybody says that these games are looking more and more realistic. This thing is off the charts. If you've seen it, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just look up Arma 3 simulation on YouTube. You'll see all these videos, and they are very deceiving because only some of them say military simulation. Some of them say a lot of them say Arma 3, but if you don't know what Arma 3 is, you're like, what the hell is this? So people have been copying videos from it and posting it as real footage in the conflict right now. And I have to tell you, both Dex, you and I both got by one. Luckily, we said, we always check the source on everything. And I looked at other videos on the same channel, and it was unbelievable. Dex, didn't it look as real as it can get?
Yeah.
And
looking
nighttime
on your phone or, regular screen, you never would have known. I said, wow, that looks real. Where did that footage come from? Who did it? Who captured that, right? It was amazing. It was so realistic.
I mean, and I've seen real, there's the Call of Duties and all the games. This was so realistic. I thought it was real. And it was at nighttime, and it shows cities, and the cities are so detailed, and it crashing into cities, and it's just unbelievable. But the point is, they can fake anything. Keep that in mind. Irish Rebel, you are a monster. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That is an insane support over on YouTube. Thank you for the $100 super chat. Irish Rebel, appreciate that. You don't have to do that. We appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then Andre Christ, thank you. Andre Christ again says, my channel, #logintogod is everything. Hold on. I hate how it doesn't show you the whole thing. Everything you need to know about everything nobody talks about. Andre, I will check it out. And then let's see here. Pam Ben, Cameron Combs, Ilea, Simply Pony. Thank you guys for support. Bones, is Bones here tonight? I know we had Rip Curl at some point, right? Saul DePaul, what's going on? Jeff P, hey, nice to see you. If you guys haven't checked out Jeff P's channel, he's got all sorts of cool stuff about the sun. Really, really good good guy. Make sure to go check him out. Geo Huff the Chickens, what's going on? Who is this? Let's see here. Dang it, it stopped. Chad Christian Erickson, Rip Curl Readiness, MO3, thank you. Rip, thanks for being here. Seeking Truth, Concerned, what is happening? Anna and Nevasleva, The Bit of Critta, what is going on? Jen. Bones is here tonight. We've got Bear Claws, Jake. Make sure to go check out all of the mods. If you see a mod, they most likely have a channel. Make sure to go check out their channels. All right, and before we go into the situation report, advanced weapons during Kiev visit. Just remember, if you don't have a generator, I'd highly recommend going and looking into solar generator. We work with Energy, which again, Energy with an I. This is a modular solar generator. It's silent. It is actually what is powering our whole show right now. Both power panels, both of my actual power bars, all of my lights, my music gear, everything, including my router, is running on this. That way, if the power does go out, the show goes on. Energy is such a cool device because it is modular and it's expandable. If you go and get yourself, one of their competitors that's all built into one unit, then when the battery eventually goes, which all battery technology eventually does, you basically have to buy a whole new unit. And if you need more time than that, well, you're just buying a whole new unit and another battery. So again, this is cool because you can add as many batteries as 96 to one base top unit. And you can add mods such as a middle part, or again, a mod that can actually let you put 3 times the amount of input in. Instead of 4 panels, say, you can actually do 12 panels. Again, this can charge from solar panels. It can also charge from your wall. So basically, you can treat this as a giant power bank. You can charge it through your regular outlet. That's something that a lot of people don't realize. And then have that battery saved up and charge for if your power does go out. The greatest part about that, silent. Nobody will know you have one. It's not going to be running in your backyard and have every desperate person from blocks away trying to steal it. And 2, it doesn't have any gaseous stuff coming out of it that will, kill you in your sleep. You can have this inside your home and you don't have to worry about it. On top of that, just the fact that it can be modded as far as charging faster and everything else. That's just a perk on top of everything else that's awesome about this. So go to marfooglenews.com/energy. That's again, marfooglenews.com/energy. You definitely want to get over there soon. There is a waiting list for these, so you got to get over there fast. All right, and then Dex, you want to talk about Blinken and Austin and everything that popped up during this?
Well, yeah. So we had a surprise sort of visit where both Anthony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin met in the capital of Kiev. They went there to meet with Vladimir. So this just happened, I guess, over the weekend. They finished up, but obviously coming out of that is again more promises of support and equipment and money, etc., to help support them, because obviously they keep asking for it, and we just keep doling out the cash and doling out the equipment. So yeah, kind of a big deal though for them to go all the way in to the capital.
Yeah, especially when it's under siege, right? It says it's the highest profile U.S. visit since the conflict started, had been announced by Zelensky. So one thing I don't get is that city, what I don't understand is how it's not under complete control over Vlad, right? They say they took it back or they retreated or whatever is going on. Go with your gut, folks. And then hepatitis. One child has died from a condition in mysterious global outbreak. It says one hepatitis-stricken child has perished and 17 have needed liver transplants because of a mysterious spat of cases first spotted in the UK, WHO says. One child has perished and then 17 have needed transplants because of the mysterious global outbreak of hepatitis. The World Health Organization said it received reports of at least 169 cases of acute hepatitis of unknown origin from a dozen countries as of Saturday. It says cases were reported in children aged 1 month to 16 years old, and 17 of those who fell ill required transplants. This is funky. Dex, it's now obviously there's other than children, right? But they cover it just because it's children, right?
Well, and the fact that they're saying this is from unknown origin, I mean, there's obviously, there's origins when you get hepatitis. But for them to have this many cases popping up, and now they're reporting it. They're reporting it as, an issue. Especially coming from that organization, that sort of is a little bit of a flag to sort of watch and say, okay, well, is it going to be raised higher? Is this a bigger deal? Are we going to start seeing these happen everywhere, or is this just a one-time, sort of event that they're watching and it goes away, right? The unknown portions of it is what's definitely alarming to me.
Nancy Smith says maybe this will be the next Pano, or maybe it's from the last. Rhiannon S, thank you. Rhiannon S, it doesn't say. It doesn't. I don't think it did say. It didn't say if it was A, C, B, whatever. It doesn't actually say, huh? I don't know why my brain just thought C. What is the difference between them?
Well, it says, it did say none of the cases were caused by any of the 5 typical strains, which are A, B, C, D, and E. So those are the different strains. And it says it's not any of those, which is also, again, going back to that unknown origin.
Gosh, that says gross. When it is spread by AV, it's usually caused by consuming food and drink contaminated with the feces of an infected person or blood-to-blood or sexual contact. And the symptoms are pretty much like every other one. But yeah, Michael Rosso says, what about the bird? That one is also prevalent too. We talked about all of the poultry and everything they say it affected and how it's going to get knocked out, and basically it's screwing up all of our food, right? But yes, what many have said is that's going to affect, that's going to be the next Pano, that it's going to go from, wait, Dex, was it birds? That it was going to go from birds to people? Isn't that what Gates and other people said?
Well, I don't know if it was him, but we did cover Ratcliffe. The former head of the Dog Cat had put out a statement in an interview. Redford. Sorry. Redford. He had put out a statement in an interview saying that he believes the next one will be going from the birds to humans, and that'll be the big one.
Huh. Well, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you on DLive. DW Crabtree 2012, thank you. Kishara, again, thank you so much. Release the Quacken, again, thank you. Mr. Best Bud, Chewy Weather. Much love, Adam and Dex, love the show. Hey, thank you, Mr. Best Bud. And Chewy Weather, Bear Claws, RS Wasteland, Laguna Berry. Thank you, Laguna Berry, and I appreciate everybody that stopped in. And then, let's see here, JW, Skullburger, San Diego Scott, America, Quigs 72, Penny Lane, Concerned, SYD Todd. Thank you everybody that has popped in. $3,999.99. Just caught it. Okay, well, thank you. That somebody just said 666. So if somebody change this, either stop watching or watch, because that's 666 upside down. All right, and then Dex, we've got web-only content, and it's getting pretty out of hand, and especially in today and yesterday, a lot of stuff came out. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, it sure did. So head over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for today's show. Or if you're on YouTube, open that description and click on show notes. It's one of the first links right there at the top. Lots going on. There are trial subpoenas that have been issued. A lot of the stuff that's been going on in the investigation. So now there's new trial subpoenas going out. So there's updates on that. DHS is concerned about 42. So, and I'm talking about a title, not a former administrator, but they're coming out and saying that they have concerns over it. So that's kind of interesting. So go get the details on that, and especially what that means to what's happening down south. The laptop scandal is still hot and heavy. Always updates in here about that. You can find out some more of the other side of the spectrum on the Elon situation with Twitter and who's all upset about it, including some popular names like Sean King, who I just heard during our show has deleted his Twitter account. So he is now gone. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's been very much outspoken against this takeover. So plenty of other things happening. The Saudis, the current administration is in the news all the time in here. So go take a look, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or on YouTube, open that description and click on show notes. It's that first link right there.
So another thing that I thought, quite frankly, literally the show, quite frankly, I thought that was really good. He said, all these people that are moaning and saying that they're going to leave if he takes over and all that, it kind of reminds me of when, if T-Man was elected, all these people were going to leave the country. Nobody actually did. And second, he said, where are they going to go? They're not going to go anywhere. There's nowhere to go. There's no other platform that he said, these are all people that just absolutely love attention, so they're not going anywhere. There has not been one that matches Twitter as far as that goes. There have been ones that have supported free speech and supported some of the people that got off or that got taken off. Those are the ones that a lot of us support as far as, basically those people, when they got kicked off of everything else, those platforms gave them a place to speak. So those are the good ones, but again, they're not going to match. So all these people that are saying they're going to leave if it's this, where are they going to go? They're just not going to do anything. Sean, have a good day. All right, guys, thank you so much. Everybody, Lisa R. Hall, thank you so much. Make sure to thank your mods. Check out their channel. Lisa R. Hall has been doing live streams. Make sure to go check her out. JStone78, Ilea. You've got Whitetail7, thank you. WIS Jen, Rip Curl. Rip Curl has a great channel. Bones has a great channel. CJ Blaze has a great channel. I did not see, but everybody's telling me I need to go watch her last video. She did a very eye-opening video, so I have to go see that, so thank you. And then Ninja Squirrel, the ghost of Kiev pilot, was Arma 3. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you remember the ghost of... Apparently that was a video from Arma 3, which, again, that video was all over the place. Be Real Beast, welcome all new fam and God bless. Be Real, hey, that is awesome. Thank you. And thank you everybody else that in the chat actually participates in welcoming new people. And again, we're working towards something really great. So I hope everybody sticks around. Thank you. Love you guys. Have a good night. Dex, thank you and be safe.
Much love. Great show, brother.
Be prepared. And Marv out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
last straw. Now they acting it been over like it's the Civil War. Now they got you on the money, bring on the list, y'all. Breed on the bag around and now I pull a pistol. With it less sheep and now a little more sheepdog. A little less sheep, a little more sheepdog. Now they tipping, ripping on the last straw. Now they acting it been over like it's the Civil War. Now they got you on the money, bring on the list, y'all. On a really bad day, everybody just gotta go say, I'm gonna be okay. Starvation on a really bad day, everybody just gotta go say, I'm gonna be okay. Everybody gonna do it back down. Everybody gonna be back tonight. Yeah, Calhoun, let me do it right now. Everybody gonna be back tonight. Come be in the white Del 7 in the Mountain Black Wolf. Ebony's the phone in the Black Wolf. Everybody gotta go, do you know? You'll be the able and the one who won't. And in the decade, everybody knows when the game's gonna go back next Tuesday. Ebony's the phone, everybody go. Cognitive bone, when everybody knows. Damn bad W-I-F-M, killing it, winning it, okay, starvation on a really bad day. Everybody just gotta. I'm gonna be okay. Starvation on a really bad day. Everybody just gotta go say, I'm gonna be okay. Everybody gonna go.